Hey guys, welcome back to Exmo. If you've watched my other videos, you might remember that I was a member of the church for 25 years before I left. And today I'm going to talk about 6 facts about the Mormon Church, aka the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, that I was not taught in church. When I say in church, during church, I mean during any type of church meeting, be that sacrament meeting or Sunday school, Relief Society, seminary, you get the picture. Number 1. Joseph Smith translated fake plates that were made to test the validity of his claims as a prophet. These plates were referred to as the Kinderhook plates, named after the town in which they were purportedly discovered in. Joseph claimed the plates, quote, contained the history of the person with whom they were found. He was a descendant of Ham through the loins of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. The record of this was written into the manuscript History of the Church in 1854. The church only had Joseph's word to go on, but they assumed the plates were genuine and that what Joseph said about them was true. In 1962, an official church magazine ran an article stating that the plates were in fact genuine. It wasn't until 1981 that the church learned that the plates were a hoax and were forced to admit that the whole thing is what they call a 19th century joke. And then they claimed that Joseph never took the matter up with the Lord, even though he absolutely did claim to translate them. I never heard a word about the Kinderhook plates during my entire time as a church member, even though I do think it's of great importance as far as knowing that Joseph Smith is claiming to be a prophet, and it's a great show of his ability to be a prophet. Number 2, prophets and apostles are paid. When I was a member of the church, I was never taught or told this fact. In fact, I was told, and I repeated that the opposite is true, that none of the people that are members of our church are paid for anything that they do. Documents have been leaked showing that all of the general authorities are paid, and this doesn't just mean the 12, this means all of the general authorities. The first presidency, the quorum of the 12, the first and second quorums of the 70, and the presiding bishopric are all paid. What they call a living allowance in 2014 was at least $120,000 a year. I actually did learn this fact before leaving the church, but I didn't learn it at church or from anybody in our church. I actually learned it from an ex-mormon friend of mine. And at the time, I didn't really believe him, but the small part of me that thought maybe he was telling the truth was able to justify this fact by any means necessary. Now, I won't comment on the actual amount or if I think it's reasonable, and I'm not going to compare it to what other religious leaders make. What I will say here is that for my entire life growing up, and even as an adult, I was taught and I believed that none of the people in the church made any money except for seminary teachers. And I told everybody else this, and anybody who asked, I told them that our leaders were not paid, which is simply not true. Number 3. Joseph Smith was a polygamist who had at least 34 wives. 11 of those women were married to other living men at the time they were sealed to Joseph. 7 of them were underage when he married them. The youngest was 14 at the time of their marriage. He married sisters and he married mother-daughter pairs. In church, I was only ever really aware of Emma Smith. I remember talking about her a lot and about their relationship because Emma was supposedly doted on by Joseph. I never remember hearing about his dozens of other wives, and certainly not hearing about any of his underage ones. As if all of that wasn't bad enough, Joseph Smith was practicing polygamy before the sealing ceremony was introduced. He also made at least one threat that he would be slain by an angel if a young girl didn't agree to marry him. On top of that, he was also sealed to 22 other women and young girls before he was sealed to his wife Emma. And he took many of those wives without ever consulting Emma or asking her permission. It's interesting that the church treats every good thing a prophet does as, wow, he's such an amazing man, he's a prophet of God, but every bad thing that he ever does is he was just acting as a man. Number 4, Joseph Smith translated the Book of Mormon using a rock in a hat. I was taught that Joseph Smith used the Urim and Thummim from the Bible to translate the Book of Mormon, but in fact, he actually used a rock that he placed inside of a hat and then put it up to his face to conceal all the light, and then he would dictate what he saw on the rock to a scribe. Not only that, but it was the same rock-in-hat scheme that he had used to con people out of money when he was a treasure digger. He was in fact a convicted con man who would use this rock-in-hat method to tell people that there's buried treasure, and he would use the rock in the hat, aka the seer stone, to locate said treasure underground. So after they were digging for the treasure for a while, he would tell them that, oh, a spirit moved the treasure, and then they'd somehow miss out on it. All the while, he would keep their money. This is the actual method that was used for translating the Book of Mormon. Same rock and everything. I never learned anything about this. I actually remember learning about the Urim and Thummim, and I remember seeing pictures of Joseph running his fingers along the plates and looking, he had a scribe behind him, looks like he was, translating and dictating it out. And in fact, this never happened. The plates were supposedly actually covered up while Joseph Smith was translating them. It really makes you wonder why the plates were necessary at all. Number 5. The Book of Abraham, that Joseph Smith claimed to be the writings of Abraham while he was in Egypt, written by Abraham's own hand, is actually Egyptian funerary texts that have nothing whatsoever to do with Abraham. Joseph Smith purchased the facsimiles from a traveling mummy exhibition and translated them. I was taught, as every Mormon is, that the Book of Abraham contains Abraham's writings and talks about the story of his life, his travels, and his visions. The papyri were thought to have been destroyed in the Great Chicago Fire of 1971, but in 1966, several fragments were found in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they were given to the church. They were examined by both Mormon and non-Mormon Egyptologists and discovered to be common Egyptian funerary texts, nothing like Joseph Smith said they were at all. The church now claims, after finding out that they don't say what Joseph Smith said they did, that the facsimiles inspired Joseph to write the Book of Abraham. Even though Joseph Smith himself actually claimed that Abraham had made the hieroglyphs. He said, quote, "They were written by his own hand upon papyrus." I was never taught that the Book of Abraham wasn't actually written by Abraham. I was taught the opposite. Number 6. The Lds Endowment Ceremony that Joseph Smith introduced in 1842 is extremely similar to a ceremony performed by the Freemasons. Even more interesting is the fact that Joseph introduced the ceremony just 7 short weeks after his initiation as a Mason. You heard that right. I mean, I knew that the ceremony was strange when I went through in 2011, but I didn't know anything about Freemasons, so I had no idea how similar it was until I left the church and started learning about this stuff. And then I learned about Joseph's connection with Freemasonry and with the timing with the LDS temple ceremony, and wow, I mean, the more you know. So there you have it. 6 facts about the Mormon Church that I did not learn during my 25 years of being a member of the Mormon Church. Let me know in the comments which ones you were and weren't aware of when you were a member. And by the way, I will put links to sources for all of these different facts in the description, and I encourage you to check them all out if you're interested. There are many more facts that I wasn't aware of, and it's really interesting after leaving the church to realize how much I wasn't aware of. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Exmo_Lex. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see stuff like this. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see stuff like this and this. Like this video if you like it, and dislike it if you hated it. Leave me a comment, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!